Hey everybody, it's Colleen here with Artwork by Colleen, and we're going to do a little bit of a Christmas figment. So for that, I pulled all the colors out that I was going to need. I started with the eyes. You can kind of start anywhere you want, but I decided to do those first because then that kind of gives you a better perspective of the overall size of the cane itself, because it's got to be adjusted a little bit. You can adjust it there, and if you start somewhere else, sometimes the eyes get too small. Anyway, whatever. So I did the black first, and then I covered that with yellow because he's got bright yellow eyes, which as you can see here. And then once I filled in all that, for the yellow, I put a little like a triangular yellow piece, and then I just put the other eye straight on the yellow because that's about the width apart that they are from each other, and then covered the second eye kind of in place, and then I trimmed down a little piece to make the little hump for his eyes so that they was stood out a little bit better. Then after covering his eyes with a thin coat of black because I wanted to make it pop and stand out a little bit, I reshaped it just a little bit and put it back in place. Now I'm working kind of on his snout, and you can see that there's purple, and then there was a line of black to give it like a wrinkle in his nose, I guess you would say. So I put that on second, and then I went ahead and put the next layer for his nose. Now he's got his little nostrils, so I took little tiny pieces of black, covered them with purple, and then put them on there so that you could see his little nostrils sticking out. And then once those were on, I could just fill in the little purple piece in the center to finish out his nose, snout, whatever you want to call it. Once you can see that I have that basic middle section of his nose together, or the snout area, I can put that down and then start building up the rest of his face to include covering his eyes as well as giving his face. He's got kind of chubby little cheeks, and also you want to incorporate in there kind of his mouth, because that's really important part of his personality. Also, while it's going through, this is just the face portion and you can watch it being built. But I also did Chip and Dale, as you saw, and then I did a Mickey and a Minnie Snow People. So I'll get those out. Let me know if there's something specific for Christmas that you want to see. I know I tend to go towards Disney, but that's just because I think it's so much fun to do. And I mostly just do it for myself, and I don't do a whole lot with it. Anyway, you can see the progression of his face going along here, and you can see it's starting to kind of like build his character a little bit. Here we're starting to get to kind of like the pointy part of his nose area. And then I'm going to start building the black in there a little bit, because next we're going to be putting in that mouth. And that's what gives him a lot of character. I'm adding his little tongue, and then the thick black is kind of just the rest of the mouth that you see. I put that little thin black, it was like a little round piece of clay in there. So that just gives his tongue a little bit of shape. Otherwise, when you reduce it, it literally just would have been a flattened out thing, and it wouldn't have shown the shape of a tongue at all. So that's just my little deal. Now I'm adding the rest of it for his forehead and area. I did add a little triangular piece of purple in between the little crevices at the top of his eyes, because I want to make sure that those eyes are accentuated and that they keep their shape really well. So I feel like it did. Now he's got little orange horns, and so this is just a matter of me. Yeah, I covered the whole black area, and I realized I needed to not do that because I had to add the horns in. So you can see to do the horns, it's just a gradually smaller and smaller piece of orange that I go up with. And then of course you want to put a stripe of really thin black in between each layer, just because that's what his horns look like. They have the little lines in between them. And so there you can see his little horns are done now. And now I can cover the whole thing in black, and that finishes that part of it off. And so really all we have left to do from that point is going to be to do the hat. I don't really say how I mix my colors, because good grief, I mix almost all my colors, because I have some basic dark purples, reds, greens, blues, yellow, white, and I mix them up because I like different shades of things, and I don't want to necessarily buy a gajillion different shades of clay. I like to have the colors that I want. And so if I don't have what I want on hand, then I'll just go ahead and mix some things up. If you're ever curious about that, you can let me know, and I'll try to lead you in the right path of how I get my color mixes. This is just going to be the white of his hat, which is like the fur portion of the hat. And because we outlined him all in black, I want to go ahead and do that too. Now, here I'm just showing you, I ran out of black clay, and the black clay that I had used was taking the scraps that you see here and adding that black out to it. The Kato poly clay is amazing. That's blackout. It turns just what you see here. It turns it black. Now, I usually try to add some of the straight black clay with it, which is, you'll see a piece there, and I went ahead and added it to it. But it works out really well. I always have tons of scraps left over from all that I cut away when I'm using my canes for something. And this has stretched out to I don't have to nearly buy the amount of black that I used to buy. I really love using it. And I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to, you just take a small amount, mix it up, and it turns it black. Anyway, back to the story. Now we're on the red part of the hat. And you can just see I'm going kind of by the pattern. I'm not laying exactly over the pattern, but I'm kind of going by it. And I want to have his little extra piece sticking out, so like you would say the top, but it kind of hangs to the side. And we're doing the red, and then we're going to put a white pom-pom on the end of it to finish that out. However, before I add the pom-pom to it, I've got to do a little bit of finish up work. I've got to cover that red all in the thin layer of black. And I think that that'll make it pop a little bit better. And then I can go ahead and add the white. But one more thing that I'm going to do before I add that white pom-pom, once I'm finished covering the black here, you'll see I'm going to put in a little piece of translucent that's going to go between the red and his face. So that little spot right there, because sometimes when you reduce these, and that's just what I'm going to cover him with. Again, I took some of my scrap clay, just kind of blended it. And as long as it's a different color, then you should be kind of good to go. But before I finish doing that, like I said, I want to take a piece of the translucent. I'm going to stick it in there because sometimes when you make the patterns really small, then you aren't able to get in there and cut that out. So if they had to stay in there, I wouldn't mind the translucent staying. And there you have the finished one. It shows how it is reduced. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. Thanks again.